There's definitely bad clients out there. Is this where my life is going? Stop working on your business card, stop changing everything on your website, and go set up a cold email campaign. That's how you start building a company.
You started corporate and then you went to entrepreneurship. It seems very much like you have this trend with building indoor drone tours, with starting Dulla. You run whenever you should walk, and like, how do you approach taking those leaps?
Sure. Well, first off, thanks for bringing me on here. Big fan of your stuff and love following your content. So pumped to be sitting here today. I've been in the creative space since I was a kid. I mean, 12 years old, was making videos, and pretty much since then I've been in the creative space minus a 2-year hiatus in the corporate world, sitting in a suit in a cubicle every day, hitting the phones. I was selling advertising for radio stations and advertising stations. So when I did that, I just really wanted to find something else to do with my life. I didn't want to have to wake up every day and kind of go through the same Groundhog Day type routine. So that pushed me to make that first leap from corporate into starting up my own company with John. And yeah, since then, I mean, we're just kind of playing the game, like just pushing forward each day. New opportunities appear, and you either jump on them or you don't.
You started Dulla with John. The bigger thing has been indoor drone tours, and that's your main focus right now. Whenever you were starting indoor drone tours, it was definitely kind of an uncharted territory. And whenever you guys were getting into it, the FPV world was very much like people who knew how to fly FPV drones didn't really know how to run a business, but it was a really cool thing that people could offer, but there wasn't a ton of structure around it. And you guys were one of the first companies that I saw really go in, we're a business, we're going to get all the correct insurance, we're going to make sure we check all of our boxes, so whenever the big clients come around, we can actually handle that. What were the things that were hard for you guys to start there, because maybe you had to make the mistakes before a lot of other people because nobody's really done it before?
It was a lot of figuring it out as we go, as with any business, just kind of going step by step, learning the legal behind it, learning how to package it together to sell it, then learning how to fulfill it on the back end and have the right people flying the drones, the right people who know how to work with the footage. So definitely was uncharted territory, but that was the fun of it, and that's why we were able to be successful in where we're at today, as we kind of pushed through the unknown for a long time, and it's kind of now turning into an industry of its own.
And you and John are partners, which I think in some of the more successful agencies that I see, that it's usually a partnership with somebody who runs more of the business, somebody who's more the creative. What's some advice that you would give to somebody for finding a partner? What made John stand out to you? You guys, to my knowledge, were kind of friends before you started, but you weren't like best friends. So what really stood out to you of like, oh, this dude is somebody I want to go in with?
So John and I go all the way back to high school together. We were in the video club there. We had a great program where we were doing sports videos, corporate videos, and I'd always known John. He was that guy. I admired his work the whole time. I always refer to him as the guy that can make cool shit, for a lack of better words. So always loved his work. And what was interesting is I was selling radio ads and digital advertising. He was over there selling TV advertising. So we were like, both had dropped our creative juices, I guess, for a while. And so that's what kind of reconnected us. We were like, hey, let's go get lunch together, just check in, see what's up in your life. And we just had great synergy from the time we sat down. I mean, nicest guy you'll ever meet in your life too, and couldn't ask for a better person to work with. As for advice, going together is a lot more fun than going alone. So I love having John to celebrate our wins with, somebody to call and talk through problems and talk through strategies with the company. So anybody that's out there looking for a partner, I would just say find somebody that you thoroughly enjoy spending time with. And then obviously if they can complement your skill set all the better. I mean, you don't need two Johns or two Zachs in the company. You need somebody who's doing what they're good at, running in their lane, and somebody else running in their lane. And I think that's really where we work well together.
Yeah, I think there's definitely something to that as well, where there's not much crossover where, say you guys got a cool job and, you both wanted to go to that shoot. If you're both photographers, if you're both filmers, whatever, you might be like, oh, I want to cover this one. I want to cover this one. But there's no weird tension there because it's like, all right, well, we closed the shoot. So John, we need you to go on this one. There's never any, on top of, I'm sure there's hardships in the business and hard conversations you guys have to have. Not necessarily that you're calling each other out, but more so just like, running a business is hard. But I do think that one of the great things that you guys have going is there's no weird tension where it's like, well, you got to do this one, so why can't I do that?
Yep.
You know, which I think is a really good thing. And so in your entrepreneurship journey in building your own business, it is tough at first, without a doubt. How would you say you necessarily navigated those early days where, things weren't necessarily clicking. It didn't make sense to start the business. I probably shouldn't quit my job and take the leap. How did you actually move forward and push yourself through those?
Well, you're exactly right. It is, running a business is hard. Anybody who's freelancing or a business owner, especially a bootstrapped service-based company where you're not sitting on a pile of money and figuring out how to divide it. You're trying to make your paycheck every month and support the people that are working with you. It's difficult, from figuring out your pricing and how you're positioning your products to how do you sell it, to, again, how do you fulfill it? How do you retain your clients and make sure that they're happy and they had a good experience and they're coming back? And then throw on top of that insurance, legal, taxes, accounting. It's a lot. There's no doubt about it. But you just kind of go step by step and figure it out as much as you can. What I was doing 6 years ago when I started Dulla is completely different from what I'm doing now. So I learned a lot as we went through it, made a ton of mistakes, had stressful nights, on Google researching, did we do this right? Did we do that right? But that's all part of it. We were talking before this that there's no playbook to a business. There's no, here's every single step. As much as you see that on Instagram every day, there's really not. You're going to have to screw up and figure it out as you go. Yeah,
you can be guided in the right direction, but when it comes to actually doing the day-to-day stuff, there's no way. It's the most cliche thing ever, but the only way you can learn is by doing it. And I remember my perfect example of that is the first time I ever got a letter from an insurance audit, and I didn't realize that it was just a normal every year thing that you just had to run down the list, and it's not that hard to fill out. But the second I saw the word audit, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm screwed.
It's scary.
Everything's done. Yeah.
I've gone through that same exact situation. It's probably a workers' comp audit or something like that.
That's exactly what it was.
It's scary, man. The government doesn't make it easy. They make it really easy to mess up. That's for sure. But yeah, getting things in the mail from the government is never fun.
Yeah, and it's intimidating too, where you're like, man, I'm trying to do my best. I think I'm doing everything right. But then, you forget one little thing and you think it's the end of the world, but it really isn't. It doesn't matter. But I know that's the thing I'm hardest on myself with, is if I forget to, submit little things of paperwork, or renewing my LLC the one year I was late for it. And I was like, oh my gosh, do I even still have a business? And it's not that big of a deal.
That annual report fee.
Yeah, exactly. And I ended up getting dinged for a fee, and it's not that big of a deal, but that's stuff that stresses me out so much.
Yeah.
And it sucks. And so you obviously, at the beginning, you were wearing a ton of hats, and now with Indoor Drone Tours, you guys have grown a lot. You've been able to hire full-time employees. How was it at first with you delegating some of those tasks that you were so used to having under your control? And you always, if the mistake happened, the mistake was yours, but you knew what you needed to do to fix that. But now somebody might make a mistake that you have to now cover, but you don't know exactly what they did wrong because they did it. How did you, and who did you hire first for Indoor Drone Tours?
Yeah, so from the very beginning, we had the mindset with Indoor Drone Tours, once we decided this was the route that we were going, that we were going to build a business. Like, somebody else needs to be able to sell this product. Somebody else needs to be able to edit and fulfill the back end work. If it's just Zach and John doing it, that's building a job, not a business. So we, first brought on a sales director, Mitch McPherson, who, nicest guy in the world as well. He's the person you want answering the phone if somebody's calling the company, and just kind of gave up the reins on stuff. I mean, I did my absolute best to set him up for success along the way, but then there comes a time where he's on meetings by himself, he's handling proposals by himself, and you got to just kind of trust the person you hired. And again, mistakes are going to happen all around the board, whether it's you making the mistake or somebody else you're working with making the mistake. But we damage control that, we figure it out, and then we implement a solution to make sure that mistake doesn't happen again.
Yeah, I can imagine that just at first letting go of some of those things is definitely tough. But I liked what you said with you're building a job, and then whenever you hire people, you're building a business. I think one of the reasons that happens is because now, instead of the skin in the game that you have with maybe the money you invested originally, you are responsible for somebody's entire income. So you got to show up to work every day because you don't want to let the people down that are working for you. And I mean, that's an added pressure, but I do think it's an added excitement. I haven't had it yet, but I could imagine that it's all right, well, now I have an extra purpose of why I need to work hard, and I have an extra reason of why I need to go in every day. Yeah.
Having a team is, it's completely different. Like you talked about John and I in the beginning, and if one of us won a gig, like we weren't arguing over that. Like that's the environment we're trying to create at IDT as well. Like team wins all around. If we get the Ryder Cup job, and one pilot has to fly it, we're all celebrating. And so I think just having a team environment is amazing, and it's added pressure to you, but it's also added pressure to everybody. Like if one person, we have a team of 10 right now, if one person doesn't do their job for a day, they don't put their portal notes in correctly, or they don't upload footage on time, it's a chain reaction. And it messes the entire system up from start to finish. So everyone is needs to be so dependable every single day they wake up. It's added pressure, but it's also responsibility in your life, and that's what a lot of people strive for, is to be a big part of something.
I think that's definitely the fun side of working for a small business as well, because you do feel like even though the employees don't own the business, like you're saying, it's a chain reaction. If they take a day off, the business is actually going to be impacted, and there's going to be people picking up the slack, and yeah, you can figure it out. But I think that even adds a level of, it just adds a level of purpose to the people that you're hiring. And it's one more reason why people should work for a small company, because they wake up every day and they're like, man, I got to work hard. And if I don't, I might be screwing some people over today. And I'm curious, since you're on the sales end, you got to have a funny sales story that maybe it's the beginning days, maybe it's a more recent one where you were pushing and pushing and pushing, maybe trying some unorthodox methods of sales. You got a story that comes to mind for that?
I have plenty of those stories. I have found myself in some of the most hilarious situations, like walking in a full suit down train tracks, trying to get into a sales meeting, to us forgetting passwords in meetings and we can't pull up the presentation. My favorite one it was actually when I was selling for the radio station. I cold called a gym, and this guy answers the phone and give him my whole pitch. Hey, buy this radio spot. And he just goes, hey man, if you want to keep talking, I got a workout tomorrow morning. This was on Friday. I got a workout on Saturday morning at 11 a.m. Come meet me for the workout and we'll talk. And I'm like 22 or whatever, right into sales. I'm like, yeah, I'm in. Let's go. So I get up the next morning. I go and I meet this guy at his gym. And this other guy walks in who's like linebacker form, college athlete. He goes, you're going to be working out with this guy today.
What?
Long story long. I just get completely beat down in this workout. I end up getting in my car, like heart's beating, like eyes are blurring and everything. And I just throw up all over myself. And I did not get the deal when it's all said and done. I had this moment where I'm like, man, is this business? Is this where my life is going? So yeah, that was.
And you didn't get the deal. That's got to be the worst part.
Did not get the deal.
Oh my gosh! Whenever you're working out, were you even like talking about what you were trying to?
No, I just gave I was so wiped out. I tried to push through as much as I could. I gave the guy a little fist bump when I walked out, and I'm like, I got to get to my car and get out of here as quick as I can.
That's insane.
So yeah, but we've had so many funny moments. I mean, John and I have we look back at it and like laugh at the stuff all the time, whether it's like we kick off a meeting and we accidentally like knock the fan over, right away when we're presenting to, I don't know, showing up wearing the same clothes and stuff. But there's a lot of fun that comes with it. And I always try to remember those moments too, because those are so crucial in the growth of yourself and in the company.
Yeah. And you're definitely more confident now because of those things. Is there something that you can think of that changed throughout the years so much? And it might even be a little thing like, you want to be there earlier, or you just like to eliminate those stupid mistakes. Because when I'm nervous, that's whenever I'm knocking the fans over. That's whenever I'm like, oh my gosh, like my microphone's not working. And, are there things that you've learned that you're just like, all right, like I got to do this one stupid thing to eliminate anything happening?
I think it's understanding that everybody is out there nervous.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you're sitting there in the meeting worried about how you're sounding, and the person listening to you is worried about how they look listening to you. So it's like, we're all humans. We're all out here doing our jobs and living day to day. So I think it's just acknowledging, that everybody's nervous in their own shell and just trying to figure it out. And those that don't appear nervous are just the best at bullshitting in the end.
Yeah, nobody actually knows what they're doing. That seems to be a common trend. It's a funny thing that I see over and over again. Me and my brother joke about it all the time. You go into, working with these big wigs at big companies, and you're like, oh man, like they work for some of the biggest brands in the world. Like they got it. Like they know what they're doing. They're killing it. They have all their boxes checked. Mm-hmm. And then you interact with them for the first time, and it's like, man, nobody actually has their shit together. Like, people are just faking it, like you're saying, and people are still just trying to figure it out, no matter what position they're in with whatever company. It's fascinating.
It really is. I mean, that's the truth. That's just life, I guess, at the end of the day. Everyone's going day by day, trying to figure it out. What am I going to do different today to get to the next step? And yeah, am I happy? Am I not happy? It's kind of the way life goes, I guess.
Yeah, so there's a lot of creatives similar to myself where, one-man band where you're good at using a camera and you're trying to figure out, well, what's the next step? I've plateaued and I'm not sure. And maybe it's something just like implementing it in your company that'll change a bunch for your back end. What is something that you would say for the one-off creative that wants to eventually build an agency, just get bigger clients that can help legitimize them and push them forward in the right direction?
Well, I think you need to decide if you're trying to be a permanent freelancer or you're trying to build a business or an agency. There's very successful paths going both ways. Freelancer, you're like, I'm going to build these agency partnerships, so I'm the go-to person or whenever that job appears. If you're building your business, that's really all about finding solid relationships and repeat customers. I think if you want to go in either lane, at the end of the day, it comes down to eyeballs on your product and outreach. So if you're the one-man band who's sitting there thinking, I make X amount a month and there's no way I'm going to be able to get to the next level to hire somebody, you're probably not doing enough outflow of talking to people. You're not sending enough emails. You're not on LinkedIn enough or on TikTok enough, like doing the right things to build business relationships. And I think that's where a lot of people in the space struggle. Like that's the most important thing, and is bringing in more business and an inflow of customers. So to that person, I would say, stop working on your business card, stop changing everything on your website, and go set up a cold email campaign or pick up the phone and call some people. That's how you start building a company.
Yeah, it comes down to finding those new relationships. But whenever you mention finding consistent clients, what are some of the things that you can go in whenever you're pitching them to make it sound more so, all right, I know you reached out to me for this one project, for this one brand campaign, whatever, but how do you make it known to them that you're open to working more in the future and almost shape their thoughts into, oh, I really like this guy and I'm really excited for this project. And if it goes well, we're hiring him for this. We like this idea that he had, so we're actually just going to add this to our list because I didn't know we needed a brand video. But now that he's mentioned this, let's do it. How do you go into a shoot where they think it's just going to be a one-off and change the client's frame of mind?
People love ideas. So we wear it on our hat, idea machines. Like that's the way to do that. You come into a meeting and you've got the door open. You have one chance to make an impression on this client. Crush that project, but make sure you're over here educating them, talking up new ideas. I mean, most people we know video better than anybody. So we know all the different use cases for it, whether it's brand videos and marketing or it's recruitment of employees or even training. These people aren't used to hearing those ideas. So if you can sit down with them, or while you're fulfilling your project, you can continue to push these new ideas or talk about, hey, let's reformat this piece into an individual 15-second ad that you're going to target out across Facebook and LinkedIn. Then the wheels are going to start turning more, things are going to start clicking for them, and they're going to come to you down the line for those ideas and those solutions. A lot of the time, you're not going to get them to agree to a 5-year contract that every single month You're coming out here and you're filming. But you can plant a lot of those seeds. You can build a lot of these really good relationships. So anytime they do need video, they're going to be coming back to you. And then, of course, there are ways to pitch retainers or pitch quarterly content plans and approach it that way. But recurring business is the name of the game in our industry. It's very difficult to do it. So, better relationships and ideas, I think, is the best way to approach it.
Recurring business doesn't even necessarily have to be the retainer model. And for a while, that's what I thought it had to be. Oh, I have to get them on a monthly retainer for a year for that to be recurring business. But I think it's also, going out to that first shoot, maybe over-delivering, really showing out, doing exactly what you said you were going to do plus more. And then it's going to be consistent business with them because they know what they're going to get. They know what you say you're going to do. You're actually going to do it. And over-delivering has been something that I know has been massive for me because who doesn't want more than what they paid for? Mm-hmm. You're crazy if you think you're going to go into a shoot. For me, I'll shoot and then they won't ask me to edit. And John, somebody who's given me this advice over and over again where I'll just throw together an edit. And if I'll throw together that edit in 20 minutes and like, oh, wait, who did this? And I did it because I was just sitting here doing nothing. And then they're like, oh, well, the next job, sure enough, they asked me to edit. And then they bring me out to shoot and to edit. And I get paid more because they don't have to bring out a full-time editor to come and do it because I over-delivered in the first place.
And what did it take you? 20 extra minutes to do that. And you solidified a relationship by just doing that one extra step.
Just working hard, man. A lot of people are, I've been hired to do this. I'm here to do this. And then I'm going to get out as soon as I can. But it's just like, man,
and even with like the revisions and things like that. I mean, you need to, there's definitely bad clients out there that you need to put your foot down and say, this is revision number 5. This is the last one I'm going to bill you.
Of course.
And then there's the clients that you need to build that relationship with, and you're not going to nickel and dime them. You're going to go above and beyond for them at their asks. You're going to make sure they're happy with you, knowing that they'll turn into that client. So whether it's delivering extra assets or it's just in the post-production being, a little bit more lenient with your time and with your contracted revision rounds, that stuff goes a long way.
Yeah, and there's definitely a fine line to it as well, where I've found sometimes how I gain more respect from a client I've had for a while is sometimes saying no, or you're busy, and it's like, I can't do it. I'm sorry. And there's a client that I've been working, the guys who actually brought me out for the draft, they reached out to me for 2 edits in 1 week, and I had a busy week, and I was like, all right, guys, I can do one, but I just can't do them both. I could probably figure out a way to do it, but I know with what I have on my plate already, if I take both, my delivery times are not going to be as good as I want. My communication's not going to be that great, because a lot of the time in the revision rounds, it's like, hey, do you have 5 minutes to change this? And they're like, wait, we need this quickly. And that's totally okay. But if I have a shoot all day that day, I won't be able to get around to the revisions until 10 o'clock at night. And nobody wants that. And I find that saying no to sometimes and being transparent with like, I can't. And the reason I can't is because like, it's just not going to be the quality that I'm happy with, which isn't the quality you're happy with. It's been big for me, but it's hard to do it first because you are just leaving money on the table, and it sucks. But that's been something that's really been nice for me that's something that's helped me and just validated me from saying no.
I mean, you got to be honest with yourself and with your clients. I mean, if you've too much on your plate, like, you're going to have to leave that one on the table and make sure the other clients you're working with are happy. But people definitely respect honesty, and that goes a long way. So I hear what you're saying.